Hello, 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 and welcome to this week's energy forecast. I want to just quickly take a second to acknowledge the fact that this is the first one I've done in a number of weeks because I've been really working on filling the cup back up. And it wasn't just the pandemic. I actually had a lot of things happening in my personal life. I still do. And I really needed to just kind of withdraw from this community that I love so much to be able to invest that energy in my own nurturing and my own self-care. And I have to be honest, it actually really wasn't easy at all. But I'm really grateful to those of you who sent kind words or who were praying and sending Reiki. That was so beautiful. Thank you for that. But because we're talking about the energy forecast, I want to give a particular shout out to three individuals who stepped up in ways that just like really, really opened my heart. So big extra thank yous to Angela O'Leary, to Nicole Schoen, and to Nicole Dieters, who all came in and stepped in for me to bring forward their flavor of wisdom. And if it resonated for you, I really do highly encourage you to follow their business pages. And just really, I really appreciate you taking these big leaps. I know for some of you, it was actually new for you to come on camera and share wisdom in this way. And you did that for me and for this space. And I'm really, really, really grateful that you are willing to answer the call. So thank you so much for that. I also want to do just like the tiniest bit of housekeeping and remind you that for the next 2 weeks, we've got more co-work parties coming up. We have them both on Thursday. So Thursday the 23rd and Thursday the 30th, we're going to be gathering. So if you're working from home, whether you work for yourself or you're self-employed, we are going to be getting together on Zoom to jam things out. It's a 2-hour block, which you can use as much or as little as you need. And we're meeting at 10 a.m. for both of those calls. So 10 a.m. Pacific time, so this time of day exactly, actually, we're going to be gathering to get some stuff done and to really leverage the collective focus. So if you are stuck working at home and you could really use a community to help keep you inspired and motivated, please do consider joining the calls because they're actually a lot of fun and they're really great for productivity. So before I get too far into the actual pulling of the cards, which we're going to do, I've got my deck here. I want to talk about the time that we're in right now, and particularly the uncertainty and what I recognized in my own self, because it wasn't just pandemic uncertainty, but a whole bunch of other things that are happening in my life. I started to really get bogged down by not knowing the outcome. I can't tell you how many times I said, I wish I could just read the last page of this book and know how it ends, which is actually not how I tend to live my life. But I know that I'm not the only one. A lot of us have this kind of, we're in this state of limbo around the world right now where we don't know how long this is going to be. We don't know how it's going to impact us on a bigger level. And that uncertainty can actually really, really rob us of our joy. So I've been listening to Deepak and Oprah's meditation, and I'm not doing it daily because I've been really trying to regroup a lot. And today, I think was day 11 or something for me. And they were talking about how insecurity, which is tied to uncertainty, right? How insecurity robs us of hope. And to be able to get through challenging times, to be able to get through times of uncertainty where we don't have a solid footing under our feet, hope is the thing that sustains us. So if we know that not having that security is what's robbing us of our joy and of our hope, then what do we do? Because we can't create security. The times are uncertain and it's all beyond our control. The first part is really in getting comfortable. And this is the one that I'm definitely working on. So, I'm not going to tell you that, oh yeah, it's just easy and just do it. The first part is getting really comfortable with not knowing the outcome and being open to, maybe not excited by, if you can get excited, then woohoo, that's great. But if you can at least just be open to what's coming and to being curious about what's unfolding, that can really shift some of that need to control and hold really tight. And the other one is to remind yourself of your strength and your resiliency. So look back at your life, at the things that you've overcome. Look at the things that have really been adversities in many ways, but that you were able to get through and who you were on the other side of that. Because, there's so much that we develop within ourselves when we make it through challenging times. And what I realized today when I was listening to that meditation was, if I can make it through X, Y, Z, I can make it through this. So knowing your own strength can help you to get comfortable with the uncertainty, because no matter what the outcome is, you're going to be okay. And as long as you know that, that makes a really big difference. So that's just my little nugget, aside from the energy forecast, which we haven't even pulled yet, but it's just some things that were kind of rambling in my head. And I don't think I'm in a space yet where I can sit down and work on podcast. Otherwise, I would do an entire episode about just how we obsess over the outcome and how it can really just destroy us from the inside out, because we don't need that. We don't need that at all. So let's just take a moment here and calling in all the clarity in the world to bring forward the message that is going to be in the support of the highest good of this group. And remembering, of course, that energy is not linear. So if you stumble across this video 3 weeks, 3 months from now, this message is still for you. Here we go. Okay. This is interesting. So this is something that has been coming up in a lot of conversations that I've been having with my spiritual friends. Even I think it's come up with the calls of the girls in Due North. And that is about the awakening of our intuition, our spidey senses, in particular, our nighttime work. What seems to be shifting, because we have had all of our patterns disruptive and our routines have been disrupted, everything has been shaken. A lot of the systems that keep us kind of in line and these rigid, I'm seeing these really rigid ways of being able to get through our life. They're falling apart. We're not in that space anymore. So if we're someone who's been really intimidated by our intuitive gifts, or we've locked them out since we were kids, or even if we didn't even realize that it was there, because we were operating within these constraints that we weren't really open to the fluidity of intuition. Because those constraints are now gone, a lot is now flowing in that we maybe weren't expecting. And certainly, and oftentimes we had actually actively guarded against. There is a lot of work that's being done in dreams. So even though, pardon me, I know in my own practice, I actually say no messages in dreams. Since the pandemic has happened, I've dreamt. Anyway, I've had more dreams since the pandemic has happened than probably the last year and a half. And on top of that, and I talked about this in the energy practice I shared last week, we are also, as light workers, particularly those who have actually actively claimed that title and who are doing this stuff in the world, while we're sleeping, we're also doing a whole bunch of this energetic work on the spiritual planes that we don't really consciously realize. And the downside to that is that we are tired and we are depleted. But the upside is that if we had had this hesitation before, or if we were nervous about it, or if we were actively blocking it out, now these things are able to flow to us. The deepening of our intuitive gifts is so powerful. So what we need to choose to refine, if this is something that we want to work with, is how we want them to show up. So if we don't want them to show up in dreams, go back and watch the video from the other day about the energetic practice. Go and get my download that is all these different energy practices so that you can keep your energy clear, because we need to have that as part of our general hygiene anyway, but particularly when we're in this work. This is funny because I have one of the mantra cards I pulled for myself a few days ago, and I've just been keeping it on my desk, and it says, sometimes no is the most loving response. That includes spirit. So if you have had these walls kind of fall down where your intuition is deepening, and it certainly wasn't something that you explicitly invited in, then you need to start deciding how it is you want to work with this in your life. Just because you have a gift, because we all have gifts, just because you have a gift doesn't mean you have to use it. Just because you have a gift doesn't mean you have to use it in a particular way. Set ground rules, set office hours, really set the terms with spirit about how it is that you want to show up. Because because those walls are down and this stuff has intensified, it can be really overwhelming and all-consuming. And it doesn't have to be. We really need to choose how we want to show up. We need to protect ourselves. We need to set the terms, and we need to stick to them. And if people try to hijack that in any other way, and by people, I mean, on the spiritual realm, then we just have to remind them, no, I'm sorry, this isn't what I'm doing right now. No, this isn't a good time for me, but I'd be happy to come back to it tomorrow morning. Really be firm with it. It's boundaries like every other aspect of your life, and you're not obligated just because you can. So if you're open to it, allow the deepening to happen. If it is really overwhelming, then go back to those spiritual, the PDF that I created of spiritual things. Keep clearing your energy, set your boundaries every night and every morning. And when all else fails, do say no. But I really do encourage you, and this isn't just my own bias speaking here. I'm someone who locked her shit out for a really, really, really long time. I didn't have a community like this where I could come and say, hey, this thing happened. I'm really overwhelmed by it, because I was 11 years old and scary shit was happening, and I was Catholic, so I couldn't exactly ask my family about it. Use this community. Come here. We're all intuitive beings, and these can actually be really big enrichers of our life if we allow them to be. And if we don't feel like there's some kind of burden, it's not a burden at all. That's where those boundaries come in, and where you get to decide how you want to show up with it. But it really does make a really big difference in your own sense of trust in yourself, in your connection to your purpose, in your connection to other people. There is so much beauty that can happen through this work. It's why I have the program Due North, for instance, because that's exactly what we're doing, is cultivating it in a way that feels really safe. And so if you can find different ways to be able to leverage that, particularly right now where there is such a call for light workers to really rise, then you can be of service and experience your life with so much more depth, provided you're comfortable with it. So that's the energy for this week, is that there is going to be a continued amplification of our dream state, of our intuition. And then your invitation is, what do you want to do with it? So if this is what you're working with, now what? So start thinking about that. Think about what you'd like it to look like, what you're willing for it to look like. And then just kind of find your way within that. And of course, come into the space and start a chat, open up a conversation about what that would look like and what's coming up for you, and, really leverage the power of the community, because everybody has their own way. So you say, hey, I experienced this. Has anyone else had that? What did you do? Use this. That's what we're here for. Okay, my loves, that is your energy forecast for this week. And hopefully I'll be back next week with another message for you. Okay, take really good care. Be gentle out there.